Good evening, everyone. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Yeah. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jamie, has this meeting been posted appropriately?
Yes, Chairman, it has.
Can I have a roll call, commissioners?
Commissioner Davis. DeWise. Fisher.
Here.
Grillo.
Here.
Parikh. Rios. Roberts.
Here.
Scott.
Here.
And Chairman Zabrowski.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Jamie. We have the minutes to be approved, January 8th, 2026 meeting. If you've all had an opportunity to review, are there any suggested edits? If not, I'll take a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Roll call.
Commissioner Davis.
Yes.
DeWise.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
Grillo.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Scott.
Yeah.
And Chairman Zabrowski.
Yes.
Thank you.
To our attorney report, I know we have a number of resolutions here this evening and whatever else you may have, Mike, for us.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll discuss the first two resolutions and then the fourth resolution. The first resolution involves the Tova Living Project, the third of the buildings at Gillette Towers. You'll recall that the agency designated a conditional redeveloper, but one of the things that we had to accomplish before they could get to the planning board and before we could get a redevelopment agreement finalized was there needed to be some amendments to the waterfront redevelopment plan. The waterfront redevelopment plan includes a lot of parcels in it. Of course, Riverton is in it, and there are other sections designated by alphabet. The section we're talking about is Section J of the waterfront redevelopment plan, and our planner, Vina, has worked with me and with the developer's attorney to come up with, and with the agency engineer to come up what we think appropriate amendments to the zoning plan that would allow the project to move forward. So what you have before you tonight is those proposed amendments. We recommend that to the governing body, to the council. The council recommends it to the planning board. It comes back from the planning board, hopefully with yes, we like it. And then the council adopts it by ordinance. Between now and when that's done, we'll be working with the redevelopers council to finalize the redevelopment agreement. Then, after all that's done, they get to the planning board and can move ahead with the project. Some of the things in that this does, for instance, is there's a minimum lot size. The lot size that they want to build that third unit on is currently too small under the ordinance, so we're changing the lot size to allow it. A late addition to it that our engineer wisely suggested was to be sure that the road driveway into the third tower is going to be right in only, not right out, right in only, and that all the exits are going to be down on Kennedy Drive. And you'll see there's a one-page change to the front cover with some red typing in it. Angie engineer recommended that we sort of remind the council and planning board that when it gets to the planning board, they should request a traffic study for the Kennedy Drive intersection. Any questions on that from any commissioners? The second one I'd like to discuss, and I know Himanshu will want to join in, is the authorization to issue an RFP for a restaurant bar / tiki bar on that parcel of property near Buchanan Park. We've done something like this before, and we didn't get a lot of people to come back. We've revised it. This is a new proposal. The RFP goes out to the community. It's advertised. Proposals come back, and then they're reviewed, and various things are ranked. The design, how well it's going to improve the waterfront, how much somebody is willing to pay or rent for the property. The RFP process is kind of neat. Normally, government has to just bid, and you end up getting either the highest bidder or the lowest bidder, depending on what you're looking for. In an RFP process, you can consider things like design. How do you like it? What's the proposal? And not just the price. So this is the beginning of that. process. The proposals will come back. I'm sure we'll probably have a workshop session to review and discuss those proposals. And then if we find one we like, we designate them as a conditional redeveloper and go through the process.
Yes, I think Mike laid out, I think this has been in a discussion with Sarah for over a year. We had gone through and everybody agreed to that. I put together the RFP that was initially reviewed by our residence expert, Steve Grillo. He had some recommendation changes. We did that. And then Mike and I worked together in modifying to make sure that legally it sounds, covers all aspects of it, and that includes Zach. Zach had also provided input. So it's ready to go out. I did share with you copies earlier. It will be published, and we're gonna try to, post it. Kevin is gonna help me with our social media and other advertising to see if we can attract developers. There are conversations I have with a couple of local restaurants. Interested. The key thing is gonna be their ability to finance the project. Because remember that what we're doing is we're providing land. We're expecting developers to, provide all the cost of development of the project, as well as once the project is complete and restaurant opens, that will share revenue. Those negotiations gonna take place based on the concept and kind of design and the cost eventually, and that's when we're gonna. Obviously, Commissioner will be approving it every step of the way.
I have a question.
Sure.
And it's just a clarification. Under the RFP, you have listed you're considering a pilot. Why for this project?
Well, we didn't want to not consider pilot, depending on what kind of financing mechanism. I mean, generally, we do offer pilot agreements when there is a the non-residential, commercial project. Because my firm belief that a non-resident, its commercial project has really no impact on school. School will continue to get their revenue that they are getting now. It doesn't change that. The commercial project does not add additional burden or cost to the school. They are not, getting any more cost to the school. So and development of this type of restaurant kind of project may require pilot to incentivize somebody to come forward. Just if you hear what Mike said, Sarah had gone out before, and we didn't attract any developers. And I think the key thing is that to include that and possibly allow that is an important component to maybe we attract a developer.
And that's a decision for the governing body. All we would do would be consider
Recommend.
recommending it or not. And again, it's a carrot for
So-
a potential developer.
If I can ask a question? Is this a good time to discuss the RFP? The only thing that I would like to see is, I know we say tiki bar a lot in here, but I think if we just take that out because it gives a certain kind of vision, I think the statement that's under the project vision and objectives is far better. It says, offer unique concept that complements the borough's character and waterfront. I think that covers it and it leaves it more open to someone to be more creative with what they want, rather than having this vision already put in place.
Not saying we have to have torches on the corner of the deck.
Yes, thank you. Someone might have something more creative that, is more brick-like or more Cerebral-like. I think that statement says it all.
Yeah, the reason we kept saying tiki bar is that concept is attractive. It's on a waterfront view. That's where the tiki bar idea comes in. And I think we can certainly change it. It's not necessarily, that's how it goes. But that's the reason we chose a tiki bar concept, because that's what been promoted in other towns, already have done that.
And that's
And-
another thing,
and-
since it's been done in other towns, we want something that's a little more unique to Sayreville. And like I said, I really like that bullet point that says, offer a unique concept that complements the borough's character and waterfront. And if a tiki bar comes in as a RFP, then that's what it is. But if something else comes in that is creative, that doesn't have a thatched roof, then we do that.
Donna, I thought you wanted a project name to go through all the agencies. So now we can certainly, if you suggest, if there's some different suggestions,
Yeah, I think.
that doesn't change
It doesn't change.
or
No,
approval.
but it does take out the word tiki because some people might not want that as part of their creative process to come up with a concept.
Right. So ideally, what we wanted to do is have a restaurant
Yep.
indoor and have for summer times, even outdoor.
Yep.
Idea. So that's the concept. Now we'll look at it and see if we can do different titles. So
Yeah, because it does address
A good
indoor and
suggestion.
outdoor sections and it suggests all of that, but if I was reading it and I didn't want to build a tiki bar, I would pass it up. And if I wanted to build a bar with an outdoor element and riverfront element and had a unique idea, then I would be more apt to say, I think I want to put in a request for proposal. Because I do want this. I do want this.
I think that, we've been talking about it for over a year now. We finally got through it. And yes, I think that this is something unique, Tiki Bar idea is somewhat unique. And we have a property location with at least partial river view or right there. There's a park across, there's a boat ramp. There's all good elements to have it there. So I'm glad. I think that's what I read about it is that this community has support for that.
So it,
We can amend that and utilize your language. You could also add that, for example, or such as a tiki bar, but not limited to, right, as well.
right,
if
because it
that's
says
what we
tiki
said.
like
that
a
in-
half a
yeah.
dozen times
Yeah.
in here, so.
Yeah, so I think point well.
When we get to the motion, we can make a motion
Think
to
about what you want.
approve the RFP, deleting or
Donna's bar.
lessening the mention of Tiki Bar, and that'll do it, and then we'll fix it.
Okay,
Yep.
that would make me feel better and we might get some really cool, unique ideas.
I think Commissioner Grillo has an opinion.
Not on the tiki bar vernacular. I love parrots, man. I want all of them.
I'm gonna bring a patch for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't expect that in my bingo card tonight. Okay. So first off, guys, great job, pushing this forward. Just a couple of suggestions since we're all in the room. I think the communications and rollout strategy is really critical here. Local and regional newspapers, obviously they're in digital form now, but that's important. Certainly our social media. We've got Kevin on board to help with that. I think we need to send this to the Builders Association for the state, the Restaurant Association for the state, Downtown New Jersey, all of these different groups that probably have communications that can help promote this statewide. Also think we should probably do some homework internally about developers who've had success in other communities with waterfront, Jersey City, Hoboken, Highlands. I'm sure a lot of those restaurant operators probably would want to consider this as well. And then just from our side of it, I think you and Zach should probably engage with the NJEDA, the Economic Development Authority, fairly early on so that we know what list of incentives are potentially available for developers so that we can have an intelligent conversation with the developer about what the state will offer them to offset cost, because we are asking them to put up 100%. And then the other thing, and I don't know what if we do have SBA lenders in town, but it's always a good thing also to know if there are SBA lenders in the event that a developer wants to go that route. A 7A loan can go up to $5 million, which is a pretty big chunk for a project like this. So I think just having those two information pieces can help us when we're having discussions with potential applicants. But my main concern is just getting the word out, to be honest with you. But I think, having Kevin on board and having Zach on board, we should be able to communicate this well. But overall, I think the RFP is great. I think it's a wonderful project. So well done.
Commissioners, I'm going to skip over 6 because we're going to have a presentation on the proposed energy storage facility, and go to item D. It's a resolution to bring in a small firm with a very narrow area of expertise on tax liens to help us through the process we're going through with the RAB bonds. It's only up to $5,000, and it'll probably take be done in a month.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, it's basically we're hiring an expert in tax laws, tax collection laws, tax lien laws. And I want to make sure there's a component question that came around, and we're trying to make sure that borough is well protected with all this property within that for the taxes. And so is the developers well protected for the bonds, because if there is some reason we didn't do it proper language. And the reason I decided to do this is that I've gone through a situation where the ordinance was created, utility was created, but it wasn't created properly. The language were not properly put on, and so the town could not lien on unpaid bills. And it carried on for almost 30, 35 years. And we don't want that situation to happen. So I want to have one more review of that. That doesn't change the issuance of bonds. That is going to happen. That has to happen, as I said from the beginning. This is just that how we're going to, collect the money and protect our rights to issue, liens on the property that is not paying, and issue, ultimately maybe a foreclosure required to finally collect all outstanding taxes. So that's the component, that's the resolution, and that's what this resolution is about.
Thank you. Is there any other questions or comments for our attorney? If not, while it's fresh in our mind, I just want to move forward, if we could, to a vote on Resolution 2026-0204. As council is here, and it would just be, I think it would just be easier if we could kind of move that so that they don't have to sit along for that, if that's okay with everybody.
No, make them wait.
And I would ask if there's no additional comments or discussion on that, for a motion.
I'd like to make that motion.
Roll call.
Commissioner Davis.
Yeah.
DeWise.
Yes.
Fisher. Grillo.
Yes.
Roberts.
Abstain.
Scott.
Yeah.
Chairman Zabrowski.
Yes.
Thank you.
Chairman, may I just explain my abstaining? I had difficulty with receiving the files and didn't have a chance to go over this, so I didn't receive some, so I will abstain from those that I didn't receive in advance.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
Good. So we go back to our regular agenda and our engineers report. Justin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The snow didn't completely slow down the progress at Riverton. The Bass Pro, the interior still continues, and exterior improvements also have moved along. At the Quick Check, the underground fuel tank has been installed and the canopy has been put up. And then traffic signals along Main Street are being finalized with the state. And again, just great progress. Anytime you go there, it's very impressive progress.
Questions or comments for our engineer? I did hear that Mr. Morris is taking particular attention to all the details within the building. So we're all looking forward to that. Moving on to our planners report. Nina?
As you can see, we just finished the TOA redevelopment plan. Next week, I'll be in front of the planning board for the former Sunshine Biscuit master plan consistency review. And then on the 23rd, I'll be present for the council meeting for the same plan. Simultaneously, I've been in touch with the township attorney over the housing plan, because since the transit village is part of the housing plan, there are deadlines, because as you all know, the housing plan has to be completed by March 15th, and the ordinances that are associated also have strict deadlines. Transit-oriented development, they have a fair share housing, and the judge has been a little lenient with the timeline. So we get a little more room, given the fact that there is a lot more work involved than just a regular inclusionary housing zone ordinance. But I've been in touch with Mr. Sardello, so that, because I'll have to be involved closely, since that addresses majority of Cerevil's affordable housing obligation. The Ernston Road project, I know that the owner of the property has been in touch and has hired an engineer to come up with a concept, and the engineer has been in touch with me. We will have a sit-down meeting probably coming up next week to go over what they are thinking of. It's quite rudimentary, it's not finalized yet, but that will be again the next plan that I will be working on. I did receive the designation for Crossman. So that is, again, I'm waiting for the owner to reach out. I did have a brief conversation with him. I've asked him to come up with a concept and reach out to us so that we can start working on that plan as well.
I think the owner you're talking about is the strip mall owner?
Yes,
I have a quick question. It's
sure.
tangentially related. So Main Street is a county road for its entirety, correct? For those of us who have the misfortune of coming in every afternoon, it is the congestion at Crossman and Main is getting worse by the day, to the point that it is becoming, it will negatively impact this town. How are we thinking about that in a global way to deal with this? This is just an intersection that is tragic. And if we're going to be doing a redevelopment plan and we're expecting, now more residents at the new development that's already been built, how are we as a municipality working with the county, trying to address this, because it's just getting worse?
That's been ongoing, and David, you can.
And I'd love to know, because
Yeah. If you noticed out there, there is silt fence strung on each side of the road. Okay, and that's if you notice, there's silt fence strung on each side of the road, just to the north and probably to the south of Crossman intersection. And that's because the county is widening that road, so that there will be an additional width. Okay, so that timing could be adjusted at that light and it could pass more vehicles. That, in conjunction with the widening of Main Street along the Crossman tract, is part of the plan. And then ultimately, the thoughts are, how do we go through and get the remainder of Main Street to Main Street extension widened? And those are things that we've had discussions with the county on, but we have to go through and get these sections done, because that's what's on the table right now. And then we're going to go through and push on the other ones. That's something that I've had discussions with Glenn Skarzinski on, so that it's pushed from the town side. And we have to go through and move forward. But we think it's essential that specifically getting out of town in the morning, I think, is worse than sometimes coming in, although
it's bad. It's not that bad.
I know that it's bad, but if we can speed up the pass-through time at the Crossman intersection by providing more lanes to go through that intersection, it's gonna help. I don't think it's gonna solve the problem until the overall project gets done. But then again, remember, from Main Street, from White Oaks Drive, all the way to MacArthur Avenue, that road is limited width, and there's no other way of going through and widen that without taking property from the property owners. And some of those homes are right on, some of the steps are 5 feet away from the sidewalk. So it would become hard. It fits into the overall plan of going through and having the Main Street bypass go through and provide some relief. But we know that there's other concerns with the Main Street bypass, and one of the biggest ones is funding.
Right. is there we got the speed limit reduced on Main Street, right, through your office. Would it be possible to look at that light timing at Crossman and Main and see if maybe during peak periods, it could be timed in favor of the Main Street traffic as opposed to Crossman traffic?
It's possible, and I think that is definitely being done in conjunction with that project, because there'll be new signals placed there. To go through and speed it up in advance, it's a possibility we can reach out to the county, see if we can get that, but the big problem is it takes, when there's a green light on Crossman, it takes them a long time to get the tractor trailers out. And that causes the delay.
Right.
Just to back up that, I'm the project manager for that intersection improvement, and the delays were due to the utility poles. I don't know if you noticed, there's all new utility poles along Main Street. That was what took so long. That's finally done. I expect them to be back out there in the spring, and when they're out there, it'll move fast. The traffic poles will go up, and the timing has been optimized for this, taking into account the existing traffic. So once those new poles are up, the timing will be redone. So it should be this spring.
Commissioner.
And I think we know part of, and David and Justin, think if the Crossman redevelopment project does come forward, I think the way they're situated, this area, we can get additional land, part of the project development, to expand that section of the road, maybe a 2-lane on both sides, at least to that. It's part of the real redevelopment agreement. We may
Well, that's
see what we
something that
can
we
get.
have to look at in conjunction with the widening request that we already put through to the county. But the big problem is going to be, I think we'll get additional lanes so we can speed the timing going through the traffic signal. Okay. But the rest of the road is what we have to focus on. I think the area of Crossman intersection will be widened enough to go through and help the situation that Steve has brought up. But the total relief will be when Main Street is widened.
Rosetta?
I was going to comment on what Commissioner Steve said. I don't know if the problem is at Crossman, is Main Street and Main Street Extension, where you get that backup. It's not at Crossman and Main where the
I think it's
backup
both,
is.
actually. I think it's two separate problems.
It is two separate problems. And one problem will be be mitigated by the widening at Crossman and the modification to the signal. But that problem can't happen until that road is widened down there further. And it's interesting because right at the width, right at the intersection, it's wide enough, but it's between the intersection and probably Mozaleski Terrace where there has to be a transition. And the big problem is all of those properties are right up along the road.
I don't want to beat a dead horse, but maybe this is a good technical question that was brought up. So when the redevelopment plan is presented to us with design features, we could in theory ask for a right turn lane for trucks so that when they turn down Crossman off of Main, they could have a dedicated lane, because right now they have to go actually into oncoming traffic to make the turn wide enough, which of course creates a cascading effect of delays. Because for one light cycle, it may be only one tractor trailer that goes through. They could potentially we could widen that road.
There's no doubt that you could widen the road, and we are widening the road with this project. But the problem is if you widen the road too far, you're basically going to go through and wipe out the Quick Check shopping center. You're going to lose a lot of the parking there. So it's something that has to be evaluated during the redevelopment process.
Steve,
Did I get
if
that
I
right,
may.
Justin?
So, Steve, if I may, Justin and I have been coordinating on all these redevelopment plans, right? And both of us are in touch with the traffic engineer at the county. So, for example, when we were finalizing the former Sunshine Biscuit plan, the county already had its plans for improvements. But then when we were finalizing the plan, Justin reached out to George and we tried to brainstorm with him to come up with optimal solutions. solution. So once Crossman, at least we have a concept. I think that's the same pattern we both would follow. We would reach out to George at the county and, explain to them what is being proposed and then have them reevaluate that entire intersection. So probably even the county will have a second bite at the apple once we have all these redevelopment plans come to fruition.
Ina, did you have anything else for us? Executive Director's report?
I'm going to defer to my able assistant to present the report.
All right, thank you, everybody. First item is the redevelopment area bonds that we had a nice presentation on during the workshop. Next month, there's going to be a resolution authorizing the issuance of the first round of RABs for the Riverton project. The SERA administration has had several meetings with SSA and our own bond counsel and feels that the proposed terms are acceptable. If you have any questions, if you would like more information, just let us know. Riverton update, as Justin stated earlier, progress continues at the site. The interior work is continuing at the Bass Pro. Work continues at the Gateway service area. Quick Check has made a ton of progress. You can see the canopy up and all the fuel tanks are buried. The Main Street revitalization that we kind of started on last year, we're going to be picking back up on. The SERA administration is coordinating with Public Works with the borough to identify optimal locations for the trash and recycling receptacles. I spoke with Elise in the recycling department. She has grant funding available for both trash can and the recycling bins. So working with her to make selections, working with Public Works to make sure that they're going to be easily accessible for them to the trash. So I'll be meeting with them throughout the next month or so. The RFP for the Tiki Bar is the fourth point. There's going to be a resolution authorizing the issuance of an RFP for the development of a restaurant, I'll say, and bar on River Road on a property that is already owned by SERA. This project hopes to attract a development partner to revitalize the area and draw more people into the space. It kind of ties into our Main Street revitalization, just bringing more people into the area. The former Hercules site, the SERA administration has received several inquiries from potential developers regarding the former Hercules site. The preliminary discussions have focused on the potential development of data centers or a broader data campus. A key outstanding issue requiring further evaluation is the availability of sufficient power to serve the site. Hercules has agreed to have monthly meetings with the SERA team to give updates on the marketing efforts. Data centers have been recommended as a strong potential use for the site as they generate high wage employment while producing minimal traffic impacts to the town. We've had a meeting.
Just today, we had a conversation with the Hercules folks, and they had a kind of February 11th deadline for property, the developers interested in purchasing property to submit their proposal. And what we heard is that there's several developers have expressed interest. We had made sure that they advised them that we're not looking for warehousing project. We're more looking for data center type of development. So that's in work. And if it does get completed, then we'll have that another small bypass road there going from Minisink Avenue to the Jeremy Road. So hopefully we get good developers there interested in putting data center. We're going to be meeting with them on 26th, right? Okay.
We'll have another update with them.
Okay.
With Hercules or Ashland. I believe they did say they had several offers in on the property, so they had a lot of interest this past marketing cycle. So hopefully something good will come of it. To that point, dealing with the energy, the agency had a conversation with CHA Solutions to conduct a potential energy feasibility study for the former Hercules site. It would study and assess the availability of power to support a potential data center on the site and outline what a long-term development plan would look like for the property for a campus as a whole. And then the final point is the Jupiter Power. Jupiter Power is still developing their plans for the old JCP&L site to put a battery storage facility in its place. They've been in contact with the borough's emergency services department to give insight into the project and have plans to host public information sessions at the senior center sometime in the near future to give the public an opportunity to ask questions and learn more about this technology. There is a resolution for your consideration on the tonight designating them a conditional redeveloper. And they'll also be giving a presentation.
I just want to add some clarification on data center and a power issue. I know that's a concern throughout the entire country about the impact of the power needs or taking power by data center cost, increasing cost, but there are some good news going on. I think from federal government to state government, everybody's passing a regulation that the power needed for data center will be cost generated by the data center builder, provider, users. So that's going to be good. Part of this data center, we're looking at the power center not through, we're hoping that there is going to be a third-party supplier rather than the PJM, the grid supply-based power. There is also now news from federal government to allow build, the power generators within the property. And I believe in it's unique for our Hercules property is that they have a sufficient property to add power generations. And that will not affect the cost or the impact of the power use within the town. Because I think there's a big concern within the town with the JCP&L constant outage that is going on experienced by the residents of the community.
And I think part and parcel to that, we talked about at the last meeting, the cooling that's required on these facilities. I'm not going to take credit for pretending this. I looked this up. Most facilities average 300,000 gallons of water a day. Where is that coming from?
So that is something that's a good, there's three components, right? So there's power, huge component. There's fiber that they need, and then water. The power, fiber. So we do have a fiber running along the parkway, I've been told. In fact, if you remember Hercules property, I mean, not Hercules, the Sunshine Biscuit was one slated to be a mini data center because there is a fiber available there. So we have been told that's not an issue. The power was the biggest issue, and the water, we have a multiple source. Borough has an ability to supply, including gray water and through MCUA possibility supply water. So this is why this is a unique place that is all these things possible. And we have to solve the power issue without affecting the town and the residents.
I recently attended a seminar on data centers, and it's interesting out in the Midwest and Minneapolis and that area, they're now planning to build data centers, okay, with their own power supplies, okay? Yes, it does go through and take a reasonable amount of water. We're fortunate. We do have the water rights to go through and be able to support a lot of that. I don't know if we can support all of it, depending upon how large they are. But we may have to go through and expand treatment facilities because the water going to a data center can't be just gray water. So there has to be some additional treatment going to it. It's a situation where the contractors and suppliers of data equipment infrastructure are really excited because they think that that is going to really be the next boom. And they said the thing that's been holding them up the most is the power supply. And they found that providing their own power supply is what they think the solution is going to be.
David, you're right that there is this whole idea about having building that. But there's also, we are fortunate to have a 2 power plant on a Journey Mill Road that can be, they're looking at possibility. And we met with developers There are some excited about it. And one thing, the other thing I learned is that while all this Midwest and South where they're trying to build big open land and available, the quickness, they need something in Northeast, some of this data center, particularly the financial community, because of the quick response that is needed. And if they have it in Midwest, it doesn't provide them. So some other type of businesses where there is no financial issue, but all the financial companies wants to have a data center in Northeast, and I think we are in good proximity. So we've been going through and reading about it, and I think it's we think that we are at the right time and the right place, kind of things. And the other big advantage on data center that I don't know if somebody said it, is that it's not going to bring tons and tons of trucks like warehouse would be. So it's a big advantage for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting story of the history of Sayreville, right? Where I tell people we're a post-industrial town, right? And it was an industrial town that became suburbanized, and then we had the era of the power plants, and then we had the era of the warehouses, and now that next era is the battery storage and the data centers. And I think it's great for us because we're continuing to stay ahead of the curve, or at least with the curve. So I think it's a natural fit for us. And just, assuming from our professionals, we do have the infrastructure that's needed. So I think it's terrific.
As I said, we may have to make some modifications, but that's to be expected when you have a project that large.
I think the key to that too, Steve, is we're looking forward to having additional professional assistants, those that have expertise in it, and that's why we've already reached out. I said, one of the things we want to make sure is that we have all our professionals working simultaneously together. And one of the issues is reaching out for and having conversations with energy consultants so that we know that we're moving in the right direction. We have we have questions, but we don't know if we have all the questions, and we certainly know that we don't have all the answers. So we want to put all those pieces together, and I think that's very much a part of moving forward, and we do appreciate the partnership with the Hercules folks in trying to move or generate the discussion of what's best for that property. I think that's.
I think everything we are looking at it is to make there's, anything that we invite, we are cognizant about making sure that the minimum traffic impact and minimum disruptions, as I said, we're looking at a power issue that want to make sure that our residents is not affected.
Any other questions for our executive and assistant director and their report? If,
Make a
yep,
comment.
sure.
I have been on SERA before we had the executive director and the professionals we have today. And I can, it's just amazing how much more we're able to get accomplished. And I think it was a great idea by the chairman to make sure that we had the right professionals put in place, like Himanshu and Zach and Zvina. So it's just like day and night from the previous SERA commission, getting ththings done, getting it done professionally and quickly. Would you agree, Ken? So I just wanted to make that comment on the executive director's report, that it's just come such a long way, and I'm very proud to be part of this committee.
Thank you for your
Commission.
kind words for us.
Thank you so much, Donna, and Ken as well. We're going to move on, and I'm going to take us out of order again before we go to bills, and because we just started the discussion on power, and we do have a presentation this evening on a different resource and source. So I'm going to ask our friends from Jupiter Power to come on up, introduce themselves, and we can have our discussion this evening before we go to that resolution later.
Sure. Thank you, Chairman. Does everyone have a copy of the presentation we sent it around? Okay, sure. Thank you, commissioners, for being here. While she's passing that out, I'll just introduce myself. I'm Dan Watson. I'm a director with Jupiter Power. We've been working on this project for a couple of years in the background now, and excited to kind of bring it to the public now and move this process forward. So Jupiter Power, I'll give an introduction of the company, a little history of the site that we're working on, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. Again, then get into the technology, talk a little bit about the electric market dynamics that are kind of making this relevant right now. You just touched on a lot of it with the data center conversation. It's certainly related. And then I'll close with some comments on how we approach engineering and safety for these battery storage systems. So Jupiter Power, we're based in Austin, Texas. That's our headquarters. That market is where it made sense to build these battery energy storage systems first at a large scale. But we've expanded across the country. So we work pretty much throughout the nation. A lot of our projects are in Texas, but we have operational projects in Michigan, California, projects under construction in the Midwest and Mountain West as well. You might have heard we just got awarded a project in Everett, right across the river from Boston, which is a pretty exciting project. That's a 700 megawatt project, would be the largest that we've done, one of the largest systems in the country. So pretty exciting. We're pretty proud of our fleet that we've built, and we really are an operator. So we have a team of maintenance folks, electric traders that sit in our offices in Houston. And we have a remote operations center who monitor these sites 24/7. We really think about these projects from an owner and an operator point of view. So this site, I'm sure many of you are familiar. You can see the old powerhouse structure if you're coming over the parkway.
Dan, I don't want to mean to interrupt, but real briefly, what exactly do you do? And because there's a benefit, right? Every other developer comes in and they draw energy. You do something completely different.
Yeah.
And maybe start with that, and then we can go to the site, if you don't mind. And maybe that's out of order. I don't know, but I think that's the exciting part to be everybody.
Yeah. Let's not bury the lead. So battery energy storage systems. If you want to go to, let's see, like the fifth image here, might be the most helpful one. So this is kind of what the systems look like, and here's why we're here. All of those shown on that map, those are all electric transmission lines. You mentioned that there's 2 operating gas plants near the Hercules property. There's another one up where we're proposing on the river. And there used to be a coal-fired powerhouse at that structure. So battery energy storage, we operate on that same transmission system, the electric transmission system. What we do is we charge the batteries basically when demand and stress on the electric grid is at its lowest, and when there's flexibility to serve our load and our power demands. And then we will kind of push that energy back into the system when the grid needs it the most. So the electric system fluctuates greatly, both seasonally, but especially daily. So your transmission system is often strained during a handful of peak hours every day, and that moves seasonally as well. So a battery system is a very flexible type of project that provides a lot of those services. We can ramp up from 0 to 100% very quickly, which separates us out from even the fastest startup times for gas-powered generation. And then, of course, we can do that without any associated emissions, which is obviously great as we look at it from a clean energy perspective. So that's what we're trying to do. We don't tie into any specific generator like a solar or wind project or a gas-fired power plant or anything like that. We just operate off of the grid. And the project we're proposing, I'll give you a sense of scale, will be somewhere between 200 to 250 megawatts. That's similar in size to the output of the gas plant that's on the site. I think that's 230. So pretty comparable kind of power output from this facility. And this is what they look like, right? These are prefabricated units. They're manufactured elsewhere, so they come in containers. They look a lot like an ISO container, 20-foot container. So they're when they arrive, they're already built. We're not like messing around with the electric chemistry of the battery on site or anything like that. It's always contained, always sealed, which is an important part of this. So hopefully that's a nice overview of the project. If we want to go
quick
back,
question, if you don't mind.
yeah.
So I understand how you distribute the electric, but how are you said you draw from the grid. What does that actually mean? So are you purchasing electricity or excess electricity from the grid, storing it, and then redistributing it as the business model?
Yeah, that's essentially it. It's charging a battery, and
You're holding it, you're buying an asset at a certain price, holding it, and then selling it at a peak period so that your company makes a profit.
Yeah, that's essentially it. I mean, our electric system, since
I'm good at this. All right.
you nailed it. Look, since its foundation, our system has always been what you might call overbuilt, right? Because we have to build the system for the absolute peak amount of time when everyone's using their ACs in the middle of July and August, right? Like you have to build the system to meet that. We almost never actually using that much power. And throughout the rest of the year, throughout the overnight period, you're not really there. So battery is kind of solving a little bit of that inefficiency that's inherent in how the electric grid kind of has always been built.
So can I follow up question? So does that mean your customer is who you bought the energy from in the first place?
So we in this market, which is the PJM, Himanshu mentioned, PJM is the regional grid operator. So they operate from Jersey down to Northern Virginia, all the way out to Illinois, actually. So it's all an interconnected system. And they have a couple different electric trading markets, both for capacity, but also for energy. So when we will buy off of that market. We don't really buy from an individual seller. It's just kind of all done wholesale, right? So when an electron flows onto the grid, you're not really tracking where that's going. So it gets into a lot of the complications of the electric market, but we're not really tied to tied to a specific seller or buyer, really. It all just kind of goes into the marketplace, right?
All right, thank you.
Yeah, just for a layman's understanding, are you kind of doing what my iPhone does every night when it comes on and says charging delayed till optimized period so that it's pulling the energy at the lowest time of cheapest time of the night?
Well, yes, we are. I don't know if that's what the iPhone is doing. iPhone will more try and maintain the battery health, the health of the battery.
Car does that. Okay.
Yeah, but the car, yes, that's a great example. So we're doing that on a kind of a macro scale. But the iPhone charging is kind of more managing the health of the battery, right? Optimizing how fast and when you want it to be charged right before you wake up, right? Which we certainly do. We have a lot of data coming from our batteries. We're managing them. We want them to, operate for as long as possible.
And because it's a marketplace model, there's no potential, or maybe there is, for this to become like a fleet charging station. Like you don't have that capacity, right? This has to, you're holding it to then to put it back into the grid.
Yeah, that latter is the model for this project. There are projects that kind of do fleet charging. That is something that is a use case, certainly. It's not what Jupiter Power does. We're operating on the grid. We build large systems, but certainly smaller projects. There's that they do that, certainly.
Thank you.
Excuse me, are any of your customers or users data centers or mission critical facilities?
We have done some deals with data centers. Obviously, they are
Market for you, though?
Certainly is.
Market for you?
Yeah. Now that's not the plan for this project.
Yeah, okay.
But can't deny we're having those conversations, and you mentioned they're building a lot of these in the Midwest and in Texas, and certainly they are a customer because they need that peak power, and that's when it's the most expensive and when it's the least reliable too. In a data center, it's very hard for them to switch off, right? They need to constantly be available. A battery can make sure that they have that service and kind of uninterruptible service. But again, that's not what we're proposing for this project. Yeah.
Well, I see you've got individual units separated together. That's how they come. That's also safety.
Yeah.
When you talk about thermal acceleration or thermal runaway, is that an issue you faced, or how do you deal with that?
Yeah. So I was going to get to that at the end here. It's no, it's
Let's get back to the.
Well, let me go talk about a little bit about the site, and then we'll skip to the safety, because that is a very important part of the conversation. I won't deny. So yeah, slide 3. So you probably know this site. This is old coal-fired power plant, retired in the mid-90s, I want to say. The structure is still largely up. They have started some of the demolition process. So we have a agreement with the owner that's remediating the site, demoing the site. We'll take title to that once all that work is complete, hopefully sooner rather than later. And then we would start our build process. So you can see in the top left that JCP&L still operates a very active substation at 2 different voltage levels, actually. And that's where we're going to tie in. And that's how we tie into the larger system that, again, stretches all the way to Illinois. So that's why we chose this property. If you go to the next page, you kind of see just the layout. We'll certainly get into this more as we go through the planning board process. But as you saw in the other images, this is Connex boxes essentially hooked up in a series in an array, tied into a new project substation, which we will build, and then that'll run overhead into that JCP&L substation. The big part about this site is we do have to elevate it. It is probably right now below the state floodplain. So we will have to bring this site up, I think in some places more than 10 feet. So there will be a lot of fill. That's a big part of this job to make this site usable. Yeah, so that's the basic overview. We talked a lot about the next few slides here. If we want to go to the second to last one, which I think is 7. Yeah, and I'll answer Commissioner Baker's question. So obviously safety is very important. Jupiter Power, we have I think an excellent track record as an owner operator of our projects without major safety incidents. And that really involves is an outcome of a lot of pre-construction risk assessments that we do, work with our vendors who provide the actual battery units and testing of those units. So you mentioned thermal runaway, right? That's the main risk when you have a battery. All of our systems go through pretty sophisticated testing, unlike some other use cases like e-mobility, like e-scooters, which don't have standards. We have very stringent standards that these large systems have to comply with. The big one there is that we actually have to ignite a cell, a module, and an actual whole container and see how they perform and make sure that it doesn't spread. So every unit that's brought into the U.S. and installed in the U.S. now has to show that if you had a fire, if you purposely created a fire, it wouldn't spread, right? And that's the whole idea with one of these systems, is why we build them outdoor. 5 years ago, some people would build these projects in a big warehouse, right? Not the way we do it. Jupiter's never built one of those systems. We were ahead of our time not doing that. But that's kind of the standard now. And the whole idea is if there's going to be an incident, which is exceedingly rare, the rate of fires is going down and down and down as we've learned how to build these things safely. But if there is something, then it's going to be limited to a single unit. And that's really our MO and how we design those. The most important thing for us, though, is first responder safety, right? Last March, when we first started talking to the borough about this project, we did a basic classroom training session. We brought in Fire and Risk Alliance, who's our safety consultant. There's some ex-FDNY chiefs and technical experts. We brought them in, did a training with Saraville fire chiefs, with Middlesex County. I think we had like 30, 40 emergency responders come to that event, talk for a couple hours. I think it went great. But that's just the first in a series of trainings that we'll do to make sure that when first responders get an alert about the site, they arrive to the site, they know what's going on, they know how to safely manage it, and what to do. So that'll happen during the development process. We'll continue those trainings. When we build the project, we'll do an on-site walkthrough. And then we try and make sure that we do a yearly training after the site is built. So as new emergency responders, new people, get onboarded, they know exactly what they're dealing with too.
Are these facilities built with a scalability concept in mind? Do you go into it and say we need X amount of batteries to generate X amount of power, but in 5 years we want to extend by X percentage? I'm just curious how you develop your land use plan.
Yeah, it's a good question. Most of our projects, we do have the ability to expand. Again, building them the way they are with these kind of containers, you can come in and retrofit and add more in. And so that's what we call augmentation. So depends on the market, whether or not that's going to make sense for us to do. Certainly something we'll consider for this site. For this one, given the amount of capacity needs, you've probably heard about the PJM capacity auctions and the record prices. We're probably going to build as much capacity up front as we can with a pretty minimal later on augmentation plan, just because there's a dire need for capacity right now in this market.
I do have two questions. The first one is about the training for the first responders. Is there any kind of special equipment that they would need to respond to any emergency?
No. This everything that you would need for one of these is pretty typical. We don't have any special, fire retardants that we recommend or anything like that. It's pretty much everything that they would have. And again, that's part of the conversation though. If the fire chief felt that they needed something, Jupiter Power, we have done, agreements where we'll contribute to buying equipment and stuff like that if that's determined. At the end of the day, it's not our call to make. We can make recommendations and we bring in it's not me making the recommendation. It's our fire safety experts who come in and make the recommendations, but it's gotta be the fire chief, probably Middlesex County and others involved in actually making the decision on that. Yeah.
And my other question has to do with the actual plan, the picture of the batteries that you have. It's all very flat, right? It's all single level. Does it ever go on top of each other? And I don't know if that's the same question with scalability that was asked, but height wise.
Yeah, there are proposals to do that. You can do open air steel structures to maintain. You want to keep them open air. You don't want to build them in a building, but there's proposals like that certainly. Again, for this site, this is just going to be one level.
Just one level.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to keep that in mind because the higher you go up, the more it impacts the landscaping.
Sure. Yeah.
And you're already going up 10 feet.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, there's always zoning requirements and they're still going to have to go through site plan approval to the planning board. So there'll be opportunities for conditions to be set, particularly for height.
Okay, yeah, and I just wanted to make that clear because it's very flat. And if you go down one part of Bordentown Avenue where Old Bridge has all of those trailers lined up to the sky.
Mr. Chairman, after the developer posts his escrow fees and we start doing the review, we'll be having different meetings with them to go through and review all the aspects of the site. So as soon as that happens, give us a yell so that we can go through and meet with you and your engineer, talk about the specific layout.
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
want to understand it fully so that we can make our recommendations to the agency.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think David's point is well, just to understand that they are being designated as a conditional redevelopers. They're not the final redevelopment is after engineering review. And legal reviews and all of those things, planning reviews.
No, more importantly, there has to be, it's part of our area investigation study.
We already did that. That area is designated.
Correct. It's an area that is designated. So there will be a plan that will be in place even before they go to the planning board and there's a formal review. So there'll be multiple level of reviews. When I write the redevelopment plan, Justin and I will go over the bulk standards. That becomes the zoning ordinance for that site. And then when it goes to the planning board, there'll be again an in-depth review.
Mr. Chairman.
Besides that, David, my understanding it's we have discussion that in March at the senior center, there is going to be a community presentation that Dan is working on. And so there's going to be a community and bring community together so they understand the project. It's a unique project. This is something new. And so we're going to make sure that public has all the input. And it goes through a thoroughly, just like any project. It will go to the review, engineering review, planning review, as part of creating plan. And ultimately then, once we designate them as a redeveloper, then it will go to all the planning board, council, and all of those review. This is, I think our process is now starting to work. Everybody understands that, and it's working process.
I think the point is that we have to go through and do all the things that Vina mentioned. We really got to get this thing worked out to the point where it's what SERA really wants to recommend for the borough before we enter into a redevelopment agreement.
Work to do.
So that's why it's important to have the meetings, talk about all the technical aspects and go from there. Because in this initial review, it's only a kind of concept. We didn't jump into this fully yet, is what I'm saying.
We're not. Now that process is going to start up to today.
And that's why resolution 2026.02.06 says conditional redeveloper, correct? I think.
Multiple conditions.
Right. I think it's important that not only we as the commissioners, but the public understand that. And just one last question. I do a lot of industrial work in New York City, and battery storage is a hot topic. And I imagine that the fire question is going to be the same one here. But from my perspective, this is pretty ideal geographically, right? I mean, there's no residence nearby. The fire could be contained fairly easily. We in SERA will actually kind of have a competitive advantage compared to a lot of other places in the region. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think it's an ideal property for it. Like you mentioned, the surroundings are great. The power infrastructure that's there is perfect. I just wish it was 10 feet higher because that's going to be expensive. But
it costs you some money, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it was 10 foot higher, it would probably be developed to something.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
We'd find a way to put affordable housing on it.
On that point of raising it up, you have two of the best experts on the East Coast in the room on how to raise that site up, how to get the soil in. The distinguished bald man behind you.
Mike, please.
Raised up.
As opposed to the distinguished bald man in front of you, Michael Baker.
A 300-acre site, more than 10 feet, and made it developable. And Dave is the one who worked with him in his office on how to import the soil and meet the requirements of the several boroughs soil import ordinance. So
that's great.
We've got resources here.
Great.
Politically challenged.
Politically challenged, sorry.
Yeah.
Or did,
That, I think if we go to the next one, the last slide there, I think it's just next steps, questions. Yeah, and as Himanshu mentioned, we will have a event towards the end of March. It's looking like it'll be an open house style event. You won't have to hear me lecture on. We'll bring in staff, we'll bring in those fire safety experts or engineers, environmental consultants, and so people can come in and talk to people one-on-one and get the information. So we'll advertise that as we confirm the details, and through all the right channels and
We
work
plan
with
to have
SERA.
our fire and first aid people to be there so they get the first-hand knowledge.
Let's say everything goes through and it gets built. Who maintains it and how many employees, et cetera?
Yeah, it's a good question. For this site, we would probably expect you're going to have 4 to 6 full-time employees for a site like this. That includes on-site security personnel, right? That's kind of 24/7 security. But then there's a lot of electrician maintenance work. We found when we first started doing these projects, our estimate was low in terms of the number of people we actually would need to have local and be on site. They're on site more often than you think. So they might not be Jupiter direct employees. We might contract with an electrician firm, right? That's local to the area. But yeah, we'll have in that range of full-time employees. But most of the site is remotely monitored, manned, and we can, charge and discharge the batteries completely remotely.
In other words, this is not a project when finalized where we're going to be adding a great deal of vehicles into making the area congested, because that is a small road there.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're talking about a guy or two in a pickup truck a day at most. Like that's
It's not a
realistic.
traffic generator project, so that's another positive about it. And then, I don't know where we are, but we had talked about possibly when you have to bring all this equipment and everything is to the access to the, river. I don't know if that has, have you finalized that? Is it possible? I'm just trying to see if there is a way to avoid a lot of trucks on our road.
Yeah, we've tasked our engineers with trying to figure that out, figure out what would look like to bring in heavy electric machinery through the river and the permits that would be triggered by that. We're certainly open to it and we'll look into it.
Yeah, it's not a deal breaker, but it's a
Yeah.
project enhancer, so.
Yeah, and we agree and we'd like to make that happen if it's feasible. Yeah.
Any other questions? Well,
Great.
actually, while we're up, can we move forward to the
certainly can.
resolution since it's pretty clean or clear in our minds? And that would be resolution C, 2026, am I right?
Yeah.
2026-0206, resolution designating Woods Landing Energy Storage LLC, the conditional developer of block 174, lot 1.02, in the TBD redevelopment area. A motion in a second. Can I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Davis. DeWise. Fisher. Grillo.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
And Chairman Zabrowski.
Yes.
One more thing, like, I know your attorney asked for some language about assignment when you change the name. Our preference is when you get to that point and you're going to come back, we'll adopt a resolution.
Yeah.
So we'll change it. So folks will be able to follow.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Yeah. I'll let the attorneys know. Yeah. I appreciate it. Thank you, commissioners.
Take care.
All right, moving on to authorization of payment of bills. We have a total amount of $59,160.91, operating total of $48,112.91, escrow $11,048. Any questions, comments, edits on the bills? We have a second. We have a roll call.
Commissioner Davis. DeWise. Fisher. Grillo.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Scott.
Yeah.
And Chairman Zabrowski.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we have actually two resolutions left. We have Resolution B, 2026-0205, formerly known as the Tiki Bar, but will be re-edited as a more broader and creative title.
What is the creative title, Tom?
I'm up with that, off the top of my head.
Chairman, if I could say,
Unique concept.
move the resolution with the elimination of the references so frequently to Tiki Bar, and then you'll leave that to the chairman, Mancha, to clean it up.
Yeah, the title, mainly Donna wants to see the title of the RFP change from Tiki Bar to Exotic Restaurant.
How about destination quality indoor, outdoor?
We
That's-
we have the concept.
Jonathan?
You never know.
Somebody needs to, I suggested it. Does somebody want to make that motion and then second?
I make a motion.
Roll call.
Write it down.
Commissioner Davis. DeWise. Fisher. Grillo.
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
and Chairman Zabrowski.
Yes.
Thank you.
You know, if we
Thank you.
change the name of Sayreville to Margaritaville, we only have to change half the signs.
Then a tiki bar makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, let's do that
We
first.
still have the Ville in the name. I mean, half the price of changing the signs.
Okay, I'm just going to move on from that. So then D, it's 2026-0207, resolution of the Saraville Economic and Redevelopment Agency authorizing contract with GMS Law for legal services Riverton, as previously discussed. There's no comments. Can I get a motion? Get a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Davis. DeWise. Grillo.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
Rios. Roberts.
I'm gonna abstain because I didn't look into it prior to this. I would probably vote.
Commissioner Scott.
Yes.
And Chairman Zabrowski.
Yes. On to commissioners' comments. I just want to thank everybody for, I thought, a lot of great input this evening on some very complex subjects, but also on a lot of good stuff that we hope that and we anticipate moving forward on. And I appreciate all of that. Thank you. And are there any other additional comments from any commissioners? If not, moving on to
We don't have closed session.
right, can I get a motion to open to the public?
Make a motion. Second.
Voice vote?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? To help keep this meeting as organized as possible, we ask members of the public to approach, state your name, and strive to limit your comments to 5 minutes. All comments this evening should refer to the redevelopment and agenda items per NJSA 10-4-12A and the Saraville Economic and Redevelopment Agency's rules. In the event a member of the public has questions they seek answers to, an appointment can be made during regular business hours with the agency's office. Thank you.
Oh, I'm going to open to the public. Anybody from the public like to speak this evening? Before I do close it, we do have Kevin from Riverton. I don't know if you have wanted to make any comments, but you're welcome to. And we have our Kevin from our social media, and we certainly want to hear from you tonight if you have anything. So I open up to both.
Good evening, commissioners and chairman, professionals. It's good to be back. I've been working with Himashu over the past month to put together 2 new episodes of the SERA Spotlights. It's kind of something that we've been working on over the last year, which is getting videos of each commissioner, kind of making them shorter than what we've done last time, making it more concise, making the message to the residents of Saraville understand that, hi, I'm so-and-so. I've lived in Saraville for this long, and over the last year, we've accomplished this, and I'm excited to continue the growth of what we're doing. And then we're going to work on another one with the staff, Himashu, myself, Zach. I don't know if Wayne knows, and I know Jamie knows, but he'll be featured as well. So we'll be doing those as well. Those are the upcoming episodes of the SERA Spotlight.
And conclude with all our professionals. We'll introduce them.
Absolutely. Oh, you're going to be on there again. So where am I? Sorry, I had everything written down. There's also, as Himashu said, upcoming communication efforts regarding the bar/restaurant RFP. We'll be working on that, and maybe if it actually gets nice and snow melts, we'll do something down at the actual site. We'll do an on-location episode of the SERA Spotlight. This way we can kind of maybe attract businesses by actually showing them the location of what it looks like through a video instead of pictures. Social media growth goals for the upcoming year. I'll say this, the performance from January 15th till today, there's been 173 total views, 76 individual viewers. Over 83% of those people have been from Saraville. And obviously you want to keep increasing the Facebook followers and expand our presence on Instagram. That's kind of something that I've been looking into, more of the data that Facebook is able to provide us with. My goal for the upcoming months is to post more consistently, to take the director's report that is given every meeting and kind of turn that into different posts, making the public aware of what's going on. And then also work with Apogee, who manages or hosts our website. ThrillShare is the program we use to build out the website. There's an analytics side of that as well, to look into those numbers to try to drive more people to our website. That's all the exciting stuff that I have to report on. I know it's usually longer than I am, but if anyone has any questions, can let me know. Thank you.
I have a question. Do we give any kind of budget to push some of the media? Is it just a passive or do
So
we have?
everything is passive. Nothing, we haven't, there is no current budget to boost social media posts.
Okay, thank you.
And I can look at posts and break down, who's looked at them. And if we do decide to boost them, we can send out where they go.
Donna, one of the problem, any of these boost posts requires use of credit card.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to have credit card. So that puts in, we have been try communicating with the borough staff. They have a P card, they call it, which we could use, but we haven't been able to establish that. So unfortunately, we haven't taken it. But I think your point is well taken for something like exotic restaurant.
Formerly known as Tiki
It would
Bar.
be a good idea to boost post through social media, different platform, but we'll look into that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Have a good night.
Kevin? I didn't want to put you on the spot, but you spent the entire night here, Kevin, so I thought maybe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm not here as frequently as I was when I first came in 2017 and 18 and 19, as we were kind of getting this thing reimagined at Riverton, and it became Riverton. It was branded otherwise previously. And I just wanted to make a few comments and maybe a few reactions to what I heard tonight, and happy to answer any questions that you all may have while I'm here. First of all, thank you for considering this bond, the RAB bond process. As Dave Samuel said, and Mike Baker knows, and Matt Jessup, who was here, we started this many years ago. And so this is just a culmination of a long process that really contemplated what we're going through tonight and for the next month. I just wanted to point out a few things. Some of you who weren't around at that time, you may not be familiar with some of the things that these bonds will be used to pay for. There were a few references earlier to some of the project infrastructure, but there are community benefits for Sayreville and the Middlesex County that will come out of this as well. And I just wanted to make sure that we have we have those in mind as we think through this vote. $2.5 million for emergency services, equipment, and facilities here in the borough. $1.25 million to contribute to a community center in the borough. A waterfront promenade, an improved waterfront multi-use path, Heroes Walk along the water. Municipal offices, temporary municipal offices to support the ongoing development and permit review. Those are just a few. And to clarify that these bonds won't be used to pay for all of the utility infrastructure for the project. There's specific components of the utility systems that will be the beneficiary of these bonds, but the redevelopers spending hundreds of millions of dollars for utilities out there that won't be part of this bonding program. And I just wanted to, I wanted to address something Dave Samuel mentioned. And in passing, he said that we provided the land for the redevelopment. And I just want to clarify that the land wasn't free. The borough didn't give the redeveloper the land, because there were some misconceptions about that. I just want to make sure that everyone understands that the purchase price for the land was $80 million, plus assumption of the remediation of the upland, which is about a $150 million proposition. So there's a substantial investment in the land itself. The final point, Matt Jessup mentioned that this will be used to retire the debt to the county in full. So the county loaned $35 million to the borough to facilitate the condemnation of the land in 2005. That amount has been paid down over time with proceeds from the prior land sales, benefits to the county that came out of the process, such as the waterfront easement where the Heroes Walk will be built. Parcel A, which is the parcel east of the 35 bridge, that was deeded to the county and the state for permanent green space. So all of these things have already been done under the program. And so this is really paying the last piece of that debt that didn't get otherwise satisfied. whether we can repay that amount in full with this bond is really going to be determined by the market price of the bond. The affiliate of the redeveloper who will be buying the bond has to buy it at a market price for their own internal controls. And so we have some things to work out in the documents that relate to the market price of the bond based on the rates and the amount of revenue available. So those are some of the things we'll be working through over the next few weeks to get ready for the March meeting. But just wanted to clarify a few points there, but mostly just to thank you. Thank you all for your support. I reinforce what Commissioner Roberts said, which is this is a very efficient meeting, and I'm sorry to drag on here at the end, but happy to address anything you want to hear from us as a project team.
Good to see you back.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Feeling good as well. No. Is anybody else? Anybody else from the public like to speak? Anybody from the public? Can I get a motion to close public portion?
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
There is no executive session this evening, so at this point, a motion for adjournment is in order.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. It was a good meeting.
Yeah. Jamie, I'm going to give you this stuff just to throw